I'm Bo Johnson. There is something every American must understand about a federal courtroom. It looks official, authoritative, righteous. But the appearance of justice is not the same as the practice of justice. Behind the ceremony is a machinery that can reshape, narrow, or erase the truth before a jury ever hears it. And that is exactly what happened in the government's trial against me. When Judge Norman K. Moon took a federal statute, cut out the parts that protected the accused, and handed the jury only the words that guaranteed a guilty conviction. I was charged under 26 U.S.C. 7212, a statute that, when read honestly and completely, deals with force, threats, intimidation, and deliberate interference with federal officers. But nothing remotely resembling that ever occurred. For years, IRS agents followed me everywhere I went. I never interfered with them, never confronted them, and never obstructed anything they did. One time, I went to a FedEx station. 2 CID agents were inside speaking with the manager. I did nothing. I turned around, walked outside, and waited until they finished. I never bothered them, not ever. I knew I was doing nothing wrong. Why would I interfere? So when Assistant U.S. Attorney Charles Hogaboom cross-examined me and asked whether I had obstructed or interfered with a federal investigation, I answered truthfully, no, I didn't threaten to kill anybody. I didn't use force. I didn't intend to harm anyone. The instant I said that, Hogaboom froze. He hadn't expected me to speak honestly to the actual statutory elements of the crime. He backtracked in front of the jury. He scrambled. No, I'm not asking if you threatened anybody. Then he tried to twist life choices into corrupt obstruction. Did you change bank accounts? Did you avoid detection? Didn't you do this? Didn't you do that? He tried to make an obstructionist character out of nothing. He tried to hoodwink the jury because the government had no evidence of threats, force, intimidation, or interference. But the damage was done because the jury heard me say, I didn't use force. And ordinary people hearing that instinctively think, why is he talking about force? Force must be part of the statute. And they were right. Force is part of the statute, but Judge Moon made sure the jury never saw it. The jury sensed something was wrong. They saw the mismatch between my peaceful conduct, the prosecutor's narrative, and the fragment of the statute they were given. So they did something extraordinary. They wrote to the judge during jury deliberations and asked for the entire criminal statute, all of 7212, the entire law. This was the moment justice could have been restored. Instead, Judge Moon discussed the request with both counselors from either side and sent a note back. You have sufficient language, he said. He gave them roughly 17 words out of a statute nearly 100 words long. He removed the force requirement, the threats of force, the intimidation element, and every boundary the law contains. He hid the law the jury needed and wanted. He denied them the truth. With the limited language that the jury had, they returned a guilty verdict. Not because I violated the statute, but because they weren't allowed to see the entire statute. Now, the federal judiciary follows the Code of Conduct for United States Judges, Canons 1 through 5. Here are the exact canons and the conflicts based on the record. Canon number 1, a judge should uphold the integrity and independence of the judiciary. Now, here are the conflicts for Moon. He denied the jury the full statute after they explicitly requested it. He knew the truncated version distorted the law. He blocked me from presenting my understanding of the law. Integrity requires transparency. He gave them concealment. Canon number 2, a judge should avoid impropriety and the appearance of impropriety. Now, here are the conflicts. Appearing aligned with the prosecution. He accepted Hogaboom's distorted framing. He blocked clarity that favored the defense, blocking constitutional and good faith explanations. He silenced testimony about taxes, clauses, Cheek, and other Supreme Court cases, omitting statutory elements. Moon removed force, threats from the jury's view, the core of the crime for 7212. Canon 2 does not require actual bias, but only the appearance. That threshold was crossed many times. Then there's Canon number 3, duties of fairness, impartiality, and diligence. Now, Canon 3A4, a judge must not prevent parties from presenting their case. Moon repeatedly prevented full answers, cut off testimony, blocked explanations of good faith beliefs, which is what U.S. versus Cheek requires, and he interrupted constitutional context. Canon 3A3, a judge must be patient, dignified, and courteous. Moon cut me off abruptly. He dismissed filings without consideration. He threatened contempt for raising jurisdiction, a lawful issue. Canon 3A5, a judge must perform duties without bias. Moon allowed irrelevant and prejudicial evidence that was child support. He suppressed exculpatory explanations. He denied the full statute. Canon 3B1, faithfulness to the law. Faithfulness requires giving jurors the whole law, allowing defendants to explain the law, applying Supreme Court precedent. Moon did none of these. Canon 3C1, recusal when impartiality might be questioned. I explicitly asked Moon to recuse himself. He refused. Now, given his hostile rulings, suppression of testimony, threats of contempt, and manipulation of statutory text, a reasonable observer would question his impartiality. There are canons number 4 and 5, avoiding appearance of impropriety and abuse of authority. Threatening criminal contempt simply for raising jurisdiction implicates the canons as well. Judge Moon did that. He leveled criminal contempt against me for continuing to question jurisdiction. The entire federal government's application of tax law is designed to produce convicted Americans every season for the month of April. This is a marketing strategy to keep all Americans alone in their minds and hearts, full of fear, and filing federal income tax returns. Every year, the government stages a psychological operation, a disinformation campaign, psychological warfare, as it were. They prosecute a handful of Americans, convict them, publicize the convictions, and use those cases as fear-based marketing. Fear is the government's commodity. Compliance is the objective. Convictions are the advertisements. A republic cannot survive when its government rules by intimidation rather than by law. If a judge can hide the law, if a prosecutor can fabricate implications, if juries are denied statutory text, if judicial canons can be violated without consequence, then the republic is no longer functioning as a republic. In return, we get jury trials that are illusions, statutes converted into weapons, due process that collapses, federal jurisdiction without limits, ethical canons that are ignored, freedom that's reduced to symbolism, sovereignty transferred from the people to the government. My trial was not a personal failure. It was a national warning. When judges can edit statutes, when prosecutors can distort truth, when juries are kept ignorant, when ethics are ignored, the people are no longer sovereign. The Liberty Dialogues reveal the solution. Demand jurisdiction, demand the full law, demand constitutional limits. Ask the one question the system fears. Show me the law that gives you authority over me. Will you? When the people stand firm on that question, the presumption collapses, and the republic begins anew. And as always, may truth reign supreme.